Hey, welcome to One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer after our 1 week hiatus due to Thanksgiving. And I really do have to take this third year we've done this at Thanksgiving. I really do have to take that night off because it's chaos at our house. So I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, thank you for joining us back. And we are sorry that we did have to take Thanksgiving off. And we record on Tuesday nights, which means this year that Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve fall on Tuesday night. So probably we'll skip Christmas, but maybe try to record a day early or something for New Year's and have a New Year's program. So
All right. Sounds
anyway,
good.
uh, make sure that you like us on Facebook. You can contact us through one cardinal, one cub, one beer at gmail.com. For those of you who are viewing us on our beautiful faces on the YouTube channel, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button so that you can have our content as soon as it drops. If you choose to support us financially, you can support us through Patreon. Just go to patreon.com, search for One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer, and you can support our efforts, and all of your support is greatly appreciated. If you're not on Patreon, you see me or JJ walking down the street, just slip $100 in our pocket. You can support us that way. We'll take it any way we can get it. If you'd like to be a contestant on one of our trivia contests, a guest on a panel, if you have an interesting related baseball topic you're educated on, just want to be on the show because you are a narcissist like we are, please drop us an email, send us a DM, leave us a comment, say, hey, I would like to be on the show. I'd like to be a guest. And we will make sure that we have you on as a guest. JJ, how was your Thanksgiving?
Was good. We took my wife and we got her father and we went up to her sister's new house in St. Peter's. Had a big family get together, played games. It was a good time. I hope everybody had a good time. Vince, do you do a lot of cooking for Thanksgiving? I just do eating. That's what I do.
I got up at 2:30 in the morning
Ooh,
and I
Lordy.
put that 20 pounder in the smoker. And then I did go back to bed and I caught about 2.5 more hours of sleep. But I smoked the turkey and it got done about 1 o'clock. So and I have a daughter who's vegan, so I made a vegan dressing for the first time, and it was fantastic. Instead of using like turkey broth or any of the giblets, I just left that out. I didn't use any egg. I just had the croutons, I guess,
Okay.
the stale bread, and added my spices. I put some carrots and some onions and sauteed them, put that in, put some sliced watered chestnuts in because that makes it all good. And then for the liquid, I just use vegetable broth, and it tasted just like dressing. And
Outstanding.
we kind of my daughter, what's the difference between dressing and stuffing? So, well, if you put it in a bird, it's stuffing. If you don't, it's dressing. It's the same stuff
Okay.
though. Um, so did that, and yeah, we ate, we played games. Um, my my kids, for the most part, my mother-in-law is very conservative, uh, uh, very religious. And so last year, one of my kids dropped an F-bomb while we were playing a game. So this year
Hey.
they they kept the cursing at a minimal. So uh,
Okay.
it worked out pretty good. Um, had a great time. Uh,
Oh, that's good, man.
I,
What's
I
your favorite side? You got a favorite side? Mine happens to be green bean casserole. That's my favorite side. And Faith made a big helping of that. I actually had two helpings of that. I didn't eat dessert. I filled up on turkey, green bean casserole, and dressing.
My favorite side is dessert. Uh, I, you know, um, I do like dressing slash
Yeah,
stuffing, depending on where it comes from. I
yeah.
like that. Kathy makes a great cranberry relish. That I really like that too. Um, there's nothing I don't like. A lot of people are down on turkey. I think it's popular now to be down on turkey.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I love the turkey. Uh, we cheated. We didn't do traditional mashed potatoes. Kathy just bought the potato mix, potato buds, whatever.
Oh yeah.
We had instant potatoes.
Heck
Um,
yeah.
and I think that's what the Pilgrims probably did too. Yeah,
They
yeah.
were, yeah, they had a lot of stuff going on. They had to fight Mother Nature, and so they had to do it quick. That's right. I didn't know turkey. I see a lot of videos online of people putting the turkey, a frozen turkey, into hot grease, and then next thing you see is fire trucks come down the road. So be careful out there, folks. Man, that's why people like me stay away from the cooking. I fix the table and wash the dishes. That's what my participation.
Well, one thing, this was like a 3 day event for us. We had
Okay.
our traditional Thanksgiving on Thursday. Um, but my daughter Rebecca, her and her boyfriend live in Memphis. Brendan, who's been on the show, they went to Milwaukee and had Thanksgiving with his family. And then on Friday, they drove back down and got here Friday night. So Friday, I took the day off and I just took the laziest of lazy days. I watched football all day long. I found the local obscure channel that was doing the Illinois high school football play championship games.
Oh,
And being I'm from the Metro East, I had a vested interest watching Belleville, Altoff, and East St. Louis, both of whom won state championships. Yay, Metro East. So I watched that. I watched the Chiefs game. I love how the NFL has rigged it for the Chiefs to win no matter what. Being I'm a Chiefs fan and I've sat through many, many years. I moved to
oh,
Kansas City in '88, instantly became a Chiefs fan because that was the year the football Cardinals left St. Louis. I've been a Chiefs fan ever since. And let me tell you, we've had some disappointing, heartbreaking years. And I know that these games are not rigged, but if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say, yeah, somehow they're rigging this for the Chiefs because they are 11-1, and I don't care who they play. It's a close game. The Panthers, yeah, suddenly the
yeah.
Panthers like the Packers of the '60s. I mean,
The
it's
85 Bears or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
I did that on Friday. Rebecca got in Friday night after I went to bed. Her and Brendan came in, and Rebecca goes to the University of Memphis, and they have a friend from South Africa who's majoring in saxophone, and so he's he's befriended them because Rebecca's getting her PhD in piano. Brendan does opera, so they kind of run in the same circle. So he understandably a little homesick. He's got a fiance back in South Africa, so they took him with him, took him to Brendan's house in Milwaukee, and then brought him here. So Friday night or Saturday morning, woke up. Rebecca's here, Brendan's here. Their friend Mark from South Africa is here, which is really cool. Kathy, I no, I guess I made the cinnamon rolls. Yeah, I made the cinnamon rolls
Well,
this
look
year.
at you. What can't you do? Man, that is great. Cinnamon rolls.
Walking chew gum. So, so Saturday, the kids all came back over because Rebecca couldn't be here Thursday, and then there's a lot of my kids had not met. Well, a couple of my kids hadn't met Brendan yet, so they got to meet Brendan. And Evelyn brought her boyfriend Tony, who few of them haven't met. So we all got to meet each other and just had a good time.
That's
So
great,
it
man.
was a great holiday. Thanksgiving, even when I was a kid, Thanksgiving was my favorite holiday. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved getting gifts, but just hanging out with my family was always cool.
Oh, yeah. Kind of kicks off the holiday season, I think, or it used to. Now they got Christmas stuff out of Halloween at, Walgreens and stuff like that, and Walmart. But now that always kicked out the holiday season for me, where you start seeing the holiday movies and hearing the Christmas songs on the radio and stuff like that. So it's always good to be with family. Fantastic. Sounds like you had a great time, man.
There's a couple other really cool things that have happened. Um, The McRib is back.
Hey,
Yeah.
yes. Ain't it like $12 though or something? It's pretty darn expensive, isn't it now? It's pretty high up there. It's
Who
worth every penny.
who cares? It's just the McRib's back.
Ah,
So,
life is good.
this Saturday, we are having a comedy contest. Uh, Dan Rutledge, friend of the show, he puts this on. JJ is kind of his sidekick and helps put this together with Dan. And this will be the first time that I will be competing. So if you would like to um, come and watch the comedy show, vote for who you think is the best. It's a contest. Um, the information is on the screen right now. So call the number and you can get the tickets from Dan. And hope to see you all on Friday. I've done very little comedy the last 2 years, so I've been dusting some things off. And I'm pretty confident that I'm not saying I'm going to win, but I'm not trying to win. I am trying to have a really good set. So
It's
that's
it's going to be a good time. Festus, Missouri, the American Legion. A lot of folks down there would love to go up see shows, but they don't want to drive. Some of them don't want to drive that far. So Dan's bringing six different styles of comedy. Something's going to tickle your fancy. We got people from all over the area, and I think it's going to be a great show. So come on in and have a good time, and it's going to be fun.
great. And I did have some other news. Do have some other news. Max, who frequently is a frequent guest and contributor for this show, he secured a position with Amazon, and he wants me to stress that he's not delivering for Amazon. He will be an area manager in Omaha, and so he'll be moving in January, which is bittersweet. You know, you like to see your kids grow up and become adults and do adult things, and then you realize, oh crap, they're living in Omaha. So, um, but we were already talking about our, doing what baseball trip we're going to do during the summer. Best thing about moving to Omaha is that they do the College World Series there, which has always been something I've wanted to do. Um, so I think Kathy and I are going to intrude, during the College World Series times. Hey, we're going to come up to Omaha, watch College World Series. You don't have to entertain us or anything, but we'll be in town, get together, and it's a good
Great.
excuse to go see Max and watch the College World Series. So
Oh, that's
Max
cool.
will be on next week as JJ will be having is it brain surgery?
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Hemorrhoids. No, I'm having some dental surgery on noon on Tuesday next week, so I'll be out of action that for a couple of days probably. So thank you, Max. I appreciate you, and I'll be bigger and better when I come back after that.
You know, some would say if I had hemorrhoid surgery, it would be brain surgery.
No, oh man, that sounds like my family reunion right there. That's what they'd say at my family reunion. Golly.
Got a huge surprise.
Oh, okay.
Judge and Otani were unanimous MVPs. Who saw that coming?
I think they said that at the All Star break. They were like, they had kind of ran away with it right then. Lindor made a good case. I mean, I don't know if the Mets would have done what they did without him. He was a big piece of that, and he made a run at it. But man, those two guys just seasons to remember. I'll remember 2024 of the 50-50 that Otani put up. When I'm old and dusty, that's what I'm going to, when somebody says 2024, I'll say Otani's 50-50 right there.
Well, of course, it's not a surprise that they unanimously won. Um, they vote on these before the postseason, but it's such a downer when someone's had such a great season and they don't deliver in the postseason. And that's kind of what's happening with Judge. He's kind of getting that reputation. He's run into a few home runs in the postseason, but as far as being a force that is a game changer, you don't see it. So I'm going to ask the question: who's easier to pitch to, Otani or Judge? Who do you think?
Well, if it was me, I would pitch to. Judge than Ohtani. Ohtani's got that. I mean, Judge is fast for his size, but Ohtani's quick. I mean, he can hurt you so many ways. He could bunt and get on and steal two bases, where Judge is double, triple, or you're going to strike him out. It seems like, and seems like the pressure's on Judge. I think more than Ohtani because Ohtani has a whole team around him. They just put together the super team where I think Judge sometimes chases bad pitches or pitches on the corners, and Ohtani he's happy to take his walk and get on base and disrupt things. So I think it's tougher to pitch to Ohtani. That's me talking.
I would agree. I think that's Judge's Achilles heel is that he does try to do too much. And it's no secret, I'm not a fan of what Barry Bonds did. I'm not a fan of his personality. I am a huge fan of his talent. And that was his talent was even more impressive before the steroids because he could do it all. Steal bases, hit home runs, bunt, field. He was a complete package. Um, Bonds didn't mind taking his walks. One year he had 230 walks. He would take his walks, and there were he'd go stretches where he would see maybe one hittable pitch a game, and he wouldn't miss it.
Oh,
So I think that's what makes Judge easier to pitch to is he is going to chase because he is. I'm not going to say he's undisciplined, but he has the feeling that it's my show. I've got to hit the ball, so he will chase. He can't get that out of his head. Whereas Ohtani, man, if I they walk me, I'll steal a base. I'll find a way to get home. Someone's going to hit me in or something. We'll get it done.
Vince, do you think some of that has to do with where you play? Seems like in LA, you go over 4 and they still love you and they're there. You had April, he had a bad April. And the fans were booing him. They were booing Judge. You hit 60 the year before. And I was like, I can't believe this. There's just so much pressure on him. Where Ohtani, both of them are very confident, great baseball players. But Ohtani, I mean, somebody else can be the star that night or for the next week or something. Doesn't seem like there's as much pressure on Ohtani. But Judge, my goodness, he seems like he's got to carry the everything, do all the interviews, do everything. So I just think it's a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, I think a lot of the pressure is fan pressure because the expectations in New York is for you to be Mickey Mantle 24/7, um,
Yeah.
Babe Ruth 24/7. And in LA, the fandom is a little less
Rampant.
critical, I guess is the word. And that does take the pressure off. And I don't know, maybe the Yankee fans, it would behoove that their team, they kind of backed off a little bit, realize these are human beings here. And
Yeah.
then you hear them say, maybe Mark, you chime in, Mr. Mariano, you chime in and tell me, are the New York fans too demanding of their individual players, or you know, are the rest of us just
Yeah.
don't have that kind of passion? I don't know.
I don't know. I seems like I cheer the other team sometimes if I see a good play. Hey, way to go. I never want to get too cocky because you'll get knocked down. You'll get if you get a little too cocky, you get knocked down. Oh, I hear a voice. Is that
It's my
you?
Google.
Oh, I thought it was me. I was like, what the hell?
You know,
Yeah, but I try to stay humble. I think that's the best way to be because when you get all high and mighty, man, people love to see you go down and crash and burn. So I just stay humble, enjoy it when it's happening. And if you have some bad stretches, tomorrow's gonna be a better day. Just go out, play hard, see what happens.
yeah, I'm not saying this is the most important thing that happened in the World Series, but the image that will come to my mind first for the rest of my life when someone mentions the 2024 World Series will be the dudes ripping the ball out of Mookie Betts' hand, out of his glove. That's going to stick with me. That would only happen in New York. I don't see that happening in any other ballpark. And
Maybe
That was just
Philadelphia.
and well, maybe Philadelphia, but he was almost you know the people in New York was like, oh, that's a hero. Look how much he
Yeah.
loves his team. And the rest of us are like, no, that's a jerk.
You could have hurt him. You could have hurt
Yeah.
Mookie Betts. And Mookie handled it very well. He's like, what the heck? He didn't get in there and throw punches or nothing. It was like, come on, man. They had him like pinned down and was going to tear his glove off. And I thought Mookie was, class act right there because a lot of people would have lost it right there.
Yeah. Well, that was the awards we didn't get to 2 weeks ago. We got to the rest of them. Um, have you looked at the list of non-tendered players?
Oh, it's big. It's a huge thing. There's almost, I mean, there's a lot of players out there to be had. We're going to be having people get signed probably all the way up until spring training. But there's a big list out there. I know with the Cardinals, it was we let Goldschmidt walk. I mean, I guess you could always sign him back, but Lynn and Gibson, and there was a reliever we had, Middleton, I believe, from the White Sox. A lot of them that were non-tendered and let go. So, but yeah, anybody catch your eye? Anybody that out there that?
And I got a list of five that I think are very interesting. Um, first one's former Cardinal Dylan Carlson was non-tendered by the Rays, and I'm just I'm not sure what his Major League Baseball, if this is what he is, if there's more that he's got to offer. And I know he had a bad year all around, but I just think at worst, he's a fourth outfielder.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
and I think he's got some skills that are interesting. I found it strange that the Rays non-tendered him. Of course, the Rays, Dylan Carlson, probably is this his first year of arbitration, second year of arbitration? Anyway, he's
Second,
gonna
maybe second.
he may be eligible to be paid more than
Sorry.
what the Rays are willing to. Kyle Finnegan, who had 38 saves for the Nationals this year, was
Oh
an
yeah.
all-star.
Wow.
Um, ERA in the mid threes, playing on a team that wasn't tremendous, um, but he's intriguing.
Yes.
And he's in his 30s, and I guess the Nationals, I don't think it was they were dissatisfied with the performance. I think they're trying to get younger and see what they have. And they didn't want to pay him, what a closer's worth if they're not really competing. So I did get that. Um, this guy is interesting too because he's dealt with a lot of injuries, but when he's been on the field, he's been good. He's been a major league player, a solid major league player. Brendan Rodgers, middle infielder, second baseman for the Rockies in 2022 Gold Glover. Um, he's not tendered, and I think he's still fairly young. I think he's still in his 20s. Um, I think there's a few teams that want to take a pretty good look at him. Um, Not for a bench option, but if you're a team that needs a second baseman, a fielding first second baseman, if he can stay healthy, I think he could be a 140 game a year player for a contending team. What are your thoughts on Brendan Rodgers?
Oh, I've always liked him. I really do. Um, he's been in the league for a while now too, hasn't he? About 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, he's
Like you
been
said, he's a Gold Glover. I don't know. He'd probably be a good bench guy too. I don't know anything about his personality or anything, but I think most teams could use someone like him on their team. I know the Cardinals are going to need a few veterans because we're going real. It looks like Arenado if he stays, and a bunch of young guys, and Contreras and Sonny Gray. But for the most part, it's a lot of young guys. So a team like us could use a guy like that on the bench too, who could fill in and play here and there. But man, I bet he could find a job. About a third of the teams out there could use a guy like him. So
yeah,
he'll have a job somewhere.
yeah, and I just think maybe one of these teams that are teetering on contending, um, they think we've got a shot this year at contending. I think that would be someone you could plug in if he's healthy and
Yeah.
he's going to give you the great defense and he'll hit at the bottom of the order. But if you're a team thinking, we can hit high 80s, low 90 win total and sneak into the playoffs, that may be a good option for you.
You
So
know, sometimes going to a new team is like a breath of fresh air. You know, the Rockies, while he's been there, haven't been one of the better teams. And sometimes when you go to a contending team and then you all of a sudden blossom in the middle of a good lineup on a good team and you play that stellar defense, and the rest of the league goes, "Where's this guy been? He came out of nowhere. He was in the league for a while. All of a sudden, he just got on a good team." I've seen that happen time and time again, where a guy just gets on a contending team. Remember, I think it was Scott Brocious, it was or something. He was a
yeah, with the
third
Yankees,
baseman.
yeah,
Yeah, he went to the Yankees, and they loved him, but they didn't really know him. I think he was with Oakland before that, and
yeah,
you know, he didn't really, he was doing his thing, but he just kind of got lost in the mix.
yeah, and that happens sometimes. Um, the Yankees also had Charlie Hayes come over, Key Bryan's dad,
Oh, yeah.
and he was a major contributor in the '96 World Series, I think it
Oh,
was.
yeah. Big piece of the
Um,
puzzle.
yeah, so I'm just recent. I would say outside of St. Louis and New York, very few people really knew anything about Jordan Montgomery, and then he goes to the Rangers and has a heck of a postseason.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Bake McBride played here. He was rookie of the year, but he went out to Philadelphia when they had, Rose and Schmidt and Lazinski and Carlton, and then he was just a big piece of that. Him and Maddox out there covering the outfield, and the whole world knew who he was then. But
Yeah.
that happens all the time.
Going back to the Phillies of the '70s, Brendan Rodgers would be like a Manny Trio on a team.
Oh
Get
yeah,
down in the lineup, give you great defense, and if you have enough offense surrounding him, you're good. So,
yeah. A guy like that takes quality at bats and pushes that pitcher further along and makes him work because I remember Greg Maddox said, "I'm looking for my 27 outs." Sometimes they pitch around people or don't give him, and then he's going to attack this guy. Those Manny Trios and people like him can be a big part of that team and keep passing the torch along to the next guy in a player.
this guy's interesting. Jordan Romano, between 21 and 23, he had 95 saves for the Blue Jays. Now his ERA ballooned up to 600 ERA, mid sixes somewhere. He had a bad year. Um, could be someone people would want to take a look at. And then the other player that intrigues me, I will talk about later in the Cubs segment, Mike Talkman.
Oh, okay.
Mike Talkman may be one of the best fourth outfielders in baseball. And this
We'll,
is, I, I,
we'll never forget him.
I'll get into that. Uh, let me kind of explain the difference between non-tendered and DFA'd. When you're DFA'd, you're basically told you're a veteran, you're told, okay, you can either accept the minor league contract from us or you can leave. And that's what happens with a lot of veterans. Um, you get DFA'd and you can be DFA'd just about any time, I think. Um, so if you're DFA'd, most everybody says, okay, I'll try my chances on another team. Very few DFA people accept the minor league contract. Um, why would you when you think you could still play Major League Baseball and make the Major League money? So very few accept being DFA'd. When you're non-tendered, that's basically people who are arbitration eligible, and you're saying we're not going to even offer you a contract. Basically, you're fired. Now, if you're non-tendered, you can sign a minor league contract with the team that non-tendered you. It's happened before. It's kind of strange because a team has told you, hey, we're firing you, but if you want to come and play in our minor leagues, maybe we'll talk about a minor league contract. That generally happens when a player has had injury issues and you think it's too big of a risk to give them a major league contract. And other teams probably think you're too big of a risk to take to give a major league contract. Case in point, Adbert Alzolay has been DFA'd by the Cubs, which means they've told him if you want to sign a minor league contract, you can. Otherwise, you're a free agent to go out and find another team. There's a good shot that nobody's going to want Adbert Alzolay with his injuries. There's a good shot that they may have already talked to him and said, we can't offer you the money to sit around and rehab. We can put you on a minor league deal. You can stay with the organization that you've been with, try to rehab yourself and see what happens. I don't see that happening with maybe Adbert would be the only one in the Cubs that have been DFA'd, but I don't see it's just generally not going to happen. It's you saying I will take this huge pay cut and not gamble on myself for a major league job. And players don't make it to the major leagues with that kind of mindset. Players make it to the major league because everyone of them thinks they're the best player in the world. That's the mindset you got to have. You bet on yourself. You're confident in yourself. So just wanted to clarify that.
Vince, I don't know if you heard, but sounds like in the last 2 weeks, MLB announced that they're going to do robot umps in spring training. Have you heard anything about that? They
Yeah, I
are
think
going to
like
have
10 games.
13, 13 ballparks in spring training. This coming spring training will use robot umps, and they're hoping the goal of the MLB is to have them in use in 2026. That's the hope. But it's an ABS, automated balls and strikes, using a Hawkeye technology to judge each pitch. But there are some questions, and they're going to have to iron this out. But some of the questions are: what if at the ballpark the Wi-Fi goes out? So they'll have to still carry umpires just in case, because that is a possibility. And how will the set the strike zone? Each batter has their own strike zones, so it's going to have to somehow measure knee and thigh, and you know the waist of each batter, and everybody bats different. Their stances are different, so they got to make sure that's working correctly. And it seems to be a problem with the belts. A lot of players, heavier players, their jerseys stick over the belt, and the robot or can't read where their belt line is or something like that. So there's some question marks here, but they're going to try to work it out. And I'll be honest with you, it's probably the best thing. Safety of the catchers who are now learning to kind of reach out and grab the pitches. And, there's always discrepancies. And I don't know if they're going to be able to, you know, uh, argue a pitch or anything and say, hey, I want that looked at again or something. It'll be definite. And I hate any changes to the game, but I've been wrong before. I didn't like instant replay. I didn't like the idea of it, but now I like instant replay. So we'll have to see. What do you think about these robot umps, Vince?
If they do it the way they've been doing it in the minor leagues the last couple of years, I think it's a good system where the umpires are calling balls and strikes, but there's challenges that can happen because the challenges happen so quick. There's no interruption of the game at all.
Okay.
Um, when Max and I went to the Des Moines game, uh, so this year, no, it was the year before. We went to the game in Des Moines. They had that system, and the only way we knew there was a challenge was it would flash on the scoreboard. It just looked like the batter took a step out of the box, and I mean within seconds it was called verified or that was the ball, the batter was right or whatever. So there's no interruption of the game. They do it right. I'm not sure about the programming of heavier players, belt lines, and all that other stuff. Somehow it has worked in the minor leagues, and I I go back to since Seiya Suzuki has been in the league, he has been either number one or number two in egregious strike calls. Balls that are
Okay.
obviously balls, but are called strikes. And Nobody knows why. But it's almost like they're picking on him. So for a player like Seiya, who was a Silver Slugger finalist, to not have to worry about, oh my gosh, am I going to have to stretch the strike zone because the umpire just called the pitch 7 inches off the plate? It's going to make for more relaxed hitters and more offense. That's the way I see it. And the game now can use more offense when averages keep going down and strikeouts keep
242.
going down.
Yeah. My goodness. Vince, I like the way you explain that. It's like you're still have the ump, but they're like an assistant. The robot ump's like an assistant. So if that's the way it goes, I kind of like that. That's really good.
Yeah, go on YouTube and just watch a minor league game that has that system. And I mean, sometimes during a broadcast, because I watch a few minor league games a year for the Cubs, sometimes during the broadcast, they don't even mention that there's been a challenge because it just happens so quick. You know, ball three, the guy steps out, steps back in. Um, no, that's two and two instead of 3-1 now, and they just keep
Oh,
going.
okay. Is
So
there a thing they do? Like I know now when they want to replay, a lot of the guys go like this at second base on a steal attempt. Is there something that a flag they throw out there
there's
or
a sign, and it's
okay.
not something that is called from the bench. It's something that the hitter calls. I think
Oh,
that was outside, and the hitter
okay.
can call for it, or the catcher calls. The catcher, I thought that was a strike called to the ball, and it's done so effortlessly that you don't notice it. So
Okay.
I think it's good.
Heck yeah. That sounds pretty cool.
I'll tell you what rule I don't like that Rob Manfred floated this ridiculous golden at bat. I I used to
What?
be very conservative. DH, no DH in the National League, and
I'm with you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I got to the point where it was like, okay, I saw attendance going down. I saw games starting to balloon out and have no flow to them. And it became a very tedious thing to watch a full baseball game. Um, I don't even mind the ghost running during the season because I think it's important to get the games over with during the season. Because let's say you're playing a 7 o'clock game at Wrigley and the game
You
goes
gotta go
seven
work.
innings and you get home at 2 in the morning and you got to get back at the ballpark by 9 o'clock because you got a game and you got to go through your whole routine. So I like that. The golden at bat just sounds like something we would make up playing wiffle ball.
Yes.
And go ahead and explain what the golden at bat is.
Well, to best of my recollection, and Vince, it sounds like something. Remember that movie about the two guys that do South Park? It was like a bet.
Basketball, yes.
Yeah, it's like that. Oh, you got to pat your tummy the third free throw you make or something. It's unusual. Evidently, it's a moment in the game, and they're just saying it's an idea. They're just floating this idea out there, but it's a bat where a team at any time during the game can bring a batter up to bat in a specific moment. They can move him from a different. I mean, you could be the fourth hitter all night, and then all of a sudden, 2 outs, two on, bottom of the ninth, you can move your fourth place hitter up and have the golden at bat. And you're going to put your best hitter in there to face to have an at bat. And I just don't. I think that messes with the integrity of the game. It's like a I don't know. It's sort of like a cry for help or something. It's just like like a big show thing or something. And I like how you said the flow of the game because all these rules they've done with the time limit and everything, it has created a flow to the game where the game is a constant motion. But this is just, I don't know. I think it's just to try to grab some attention or something like that. I don't like it, Vince, at all. And if we have this, who knows what's next? So I say let's not do the golden at bat. And Eric, I tell you what, we're kind of a divided country right now, but I think this is bringing everybody together because I don't know anybody who's for the golden at bat.
And the other rule changes that we've had the last couple of years, they've all been pointing towards streamlining the game, making it a tighter game, making it more watchable. Um, this is not streamlining the game, making it more watchable or anything like this. This is just saying, um, hey, Otani bats 5 times in this game. Let's give him a sixth at bat and make sure that when he has that sixth at bat, there's runners on second and third with 2 outs, or something like that. I think it's unfair to the way a pitcher game plans. Um, and then suddenly you've got this wild card. You're you get the lineup and you know how you're going to pitch this lineup, and then you know what's on the bench and you know who's going to come off the bench in certain situations, how you will pitch that player. Uh, let's say that I'm Justin Steele and I'm in the sixth inning and I'm in the flow. I've been pitching to the game plan. We've been having great success. Um, balls hit to Paredes. He throws it into the stands, runner at second. And you've got a nothing game. And the ninth place hitter's up in it. Oh, no, we're not going to bring the ninth place hitter up. What we're going to do is we're going to have Corbin Carroll bat. It's like, what the F?
Yeah.
This isn't what I game planned for. This isn't someone coming off the bench. I think this will be soundly put down. And if this does become a rule,
It's ridiculous.
the traditionalists, and we are the backbone to this
Yeah.
sport still, we're still alive. The traditionalists will start turning off. And if that happens, what
Oh,
do you
they're in
got?
trouble.
Yeah,
That's right.
you're in big trouble. Big trouble.
And Vince, you also said for the safety of the game, a lot of these rules have come up with the catcher, unless he's guided into the line, leaving a lane for the guy to slide in there, the Buster Posey rule or the bigger bases and things like that. I think that's fantastic, those kind of rules. I'm all for safety of the game, of course. But yeah, this is just, I don't know, there's a showmanship to it or something. I don't know. Well, Vince, I know last year, about this time of year, when the Dodgers were signing all these players, you had a moment, a classic moment. If we ever have like an all-time reel, it'll be you going off on the Dodgers. Well, here they're at it again, Vince. They signed Blake Snell, 5 years, and a lot of it's deferred money, like they did the other guys. And Tommy Edman is getting a 5 year deal too, and some of that's deferred money. They get like a big bonus, a nice paycheck, but it's deferred. And one thing, Vince, this money eventually they're going to. This is all these bills are going to come home to roost. I think eventually they can't keep this up. Or what's going to happen to the Dodgers? They keep mounting up all these bills and deferred money that they're going to have to pay eventually.
The Dodgers have $1 billion in deferred payments. 1 billion in deferred payments. That's off in the future. They can't keep doing this. It's a business gamble that we will continue to draw fans. We will continue to be able to charge what we want. I've already seen posts by Dodgers fans on the Major League Baseball sites that are posting what the concessions are for the Dodgers this year. They're ridiculous. The ticket prices are becoming ridiculous. I don't know. That's not the kind of business model I would think would be lucrative if you're doing a business. Let's just push the bills off into the future, to the future, to the
Yeah.
future. First of all, let's say you get to the point you want to sell that team. Who's going to buy that team knowing you've got $1 billion payout still coming, $1 billion coming in the future? I think for the short term, it's a great idea. And get best players in baseball here, just keep deferring your money. But sometime, the chickens are going to come home to roost. I, are they still going to have this money? I don't know. And I've seen people who've said, Dodger fans say, "Oh, you're just jealous because your team didn't think of it." I don't want my team to do this.
No, I don't either, Vince.
I just, I mean, we have a small business. You know, we we're not deferring things. It just seems so foreign to me. I'm not a big business person. I don't understand how big business and corporations run, but I'm just saying to me on my gut level, I don't know how this will work. Um, who knows? Maybe it will. Maybe they're smarter than me. They probably are, but I'm just saying I can't wrap my brain around it.
No, and I know they got a lot of people who are part owners and stuff, and they've all been very successful people. But part of the charm of going to Wrigley and Bush is you got families that can afford. It costs a little bit, but to take a family of four to a ball game and have hot dog, popcorn, and a soda can get costly. But at least we can still, we're going to try to go to two games this year because we love watching it, and you build your fan base that way. I know the other way is winning championships and everybody, but one day, man, they're not going to be able to afford everybody. And here comes the Cardinals and the Cubs. We'll be nipping at your tail then.
Well, from a baseball standpoint, I like the signing of Edmund. I think he's worth $5,074,000 to be that super utility guy.
Yeah.
Kind of a four man's Ben Zobrist. He can do it all on the field and he can do it with the bat. Snell, I don't think Snell is worth 30 some million a year. I don't like paying players to walk people. And like I've said ad nauseum here, what I don't like about Snell is there's so many moving parts in his windup. Something gets off, he can't find the plate. And that's not something that happens once or twice a year. That happens for months, stretches where he just cannot find it. And he kind of reminds me of John Lester, who had a lot of moving parts as a left-hander too. But Lester was he was consistent. He never let things get off. And when he did feel them getting off, he was able to correct them really quick. John Tudor, going back in Cardinal years, when he started that 85 season, 1-7 was like his high school catcher said, "This is what you're doing wrong." Nobody could catch it, but he had moving parts that were not going right. And Snell has so many of them that it gets off. He's you're paying a lot of money for the best of Snell, ignoring that there is a worse of Snell, and that worse of Snell can be pretty bad. So I'm not a fan of that signing.
Yeah, and it's I believe it's 5 years, and he's getting a little older
5 years,
too.
182, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how long he's going to be that good now. He doesn't have to be the ace anymore. I mean, you're going to have a Otani and Yamamoto and maybe Kershaw and Bueller and I mean they're stacked. But that just shows you a pitcher how pitchers going. I know Frankie Montas got a big contract, and he's a below 500 pitcher. Now, I think he's a talented pitcher, and on a good team, he'll probably do very well. But that shows you, and even the Dodgers, who spent all that money, they were hurting for pitching. They had so many injuries last year, and they just were sort of on fumes there at the end, with their best pitchers, and they had to go pick up some more pitchers even. So it's a good time to be a pitcher, Vince, because you're going to make
Yeah.
some money.
Yeah, Montas, 2 years with the Mets. Will probably be a better pitcher because the Mets are just a better team. And so I don't see him being below 200 with the Mets, but yeah, it's a good time to be a pitcher. Yoshi Kikuchi signed with the Angels. The Angels keep being very active. three
They are.
years. I like that signing. I think he's a pretty good pitcher. He's a former All-Star. Um, and he's uh, not the not going to blow you away, but he's a solid third, fourth starter to have in your rotation. So I like that signing. So you're right, it's a good time to be a pitcher. I'm start. Maybe I'll throw left-handed because I've thrown right-handed for 58 years, never made it to the majors. Maybe I'll. By the way, this is year number 40 that I've been passed over in the Major League Baseball draft, and I
That
can't believe it. But
you're starting to take it personal.
I am starting to think there's a conspiracy here. So
That's right. Well, the Angels, I have to give them credit. They're changing their philosophy. They used to go out and spend all this money on one big player. They had Pujols and Trout and Otani and Rondon and all these guys, and now they're getting talent and they're kind of filling the spots up with the. They got Travis Darno, the catcher. They got Kyle Hendricks and Kikuchi and Solar and Scott Kilgore, the shortstop. So they're putting some pieces together. Uh, they can't do any worse. They're always been kind of disappointing. Maybe this kind of turn around and some of these guys will find good years and the Angels can kind of get back on their feet. They've been struggling for so long. And try to have a healthy year. Move them out of center field. Anaheim,
I
move them.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. It makes sense to Darno would make a lot of sense
Yeah.
because you get a veteran catcher, veteran leadership. Um, Ohapi is a really good catcher. Darno for the backup and someone who can kind of school him on the finer points of defense in Major League Baseball. I get that. I get Kikuchi. Get a veteran in there to anchor your rotation. Soler, I don't know. If you're going for a youth movement, why Jorge Soler? Um, um, Hendricks, if you're going for a youth movement, why Kyle Hendricks, who had an ERA just below 6 last year? I don't know. You know, but the Angels, they operate on a higher level, more of a heavenly level that I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either.
Speaking of pitching, what did you think about the Royals getting Jonathan India and giving up Brady Singer?
Well, I remember I was kind of always kept an eye on Brady Singer, and I remember a couple of years ago, the Royals don't have any pitching, and I kind of thought this kid was going to be like their Zach Greinke, a kid that's going to be the ace of their team one day. And then they went out and signed Lugo and Waka, and some other guys started stepping up, and they got made that trade for that Texas kid Reagan, who I think is fantastic. But they needed hitting. Bobby Witt Jr. and you pass Squatch, and I think they got an ML Hernandez. They and Perez behind the plate, but they're core guys. They're a little lean than the rest of the bank order, and I think India is going to be perfect for the Royals. I think him and Bobby Witt up the middle is going to be fun. Fantastic fielders, good hitters. I think India last year he didn't set the world on fire hitting. I think he hit 248, which is above league average, and hit 15 home runs. I think one year when he was rookie of the year, he got 21 home runs. But anyway, this I think that's a great move for them. And they got the outfield Joey Wiener in the outfield, Weimer, and they sent Singer over to the Reds, and the Reds are building a very good pitching staff. So both teams are kind of building to the. I mean, the Royals needed hitting, and now the Reds have a fourth guy. And I heard one of their top prospects is the second baseman. And India, before too long, will be going up in money, so arbitration and things. So they cleared way for this a big prospect and got a decent pitcher for to add to their rotation. So, man, I think it helps both teams, Vince.
Yeah, gut reaction. It's a good team for both teams. They both fill needs, and Cincinnati has confidence that their kids will be able to fill in the gaps, and they have a very young pitching staff. And to bring Brady Singer over, he's been in the league a couple of years. I think he fits nicely with the rest of the staff. So I like it for both teams. I do like that Jonathan India is moving out of our division.
Yeah,
I really,
he was a
really
pain in our butt.
so. A couple other things, or well, one more thing I do want to address. It has been announced that the Rays will be playing in Tampa this year. They'll be playing at Steinbrenner Field, where the Yankees have spring training. Um, Steinbrenner Field has a capacity of 11,000, which means they still won't sell out. I'm sorry, Rays fan.
Well, with 11,000, maybe it would it'd be a bigger. It looked like a bigger crowd.
You ever
The
been?
illusion.
You ever been to Tampa Bay in the summer?
No, I have not.
It's hot. It's humid. That's an outdoor stadium.
Oh Lord.
I don't think they're going to sell out to me. They may sell out uh, in the spring, but when summer hits, I Sacramento and Tampa outside in the summer is going to be dreadful. And I remember the Texas Rangers used to play in the Arlington Heat.
I went to a few. I went to one game there, and it was rough.
Oh yeah, it can be rough. It can be rough going to Bush in the summer heat. I can imagine being down there by the ocean and all the humidity and the heat there. Um, 50 years ago, people were more used to that. Now everybody has air conditioning. Everybody works in places with air conditioning. Humanity isn't cut out for this anymore, right?
I'll stay home and watch it on TV. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Vince, the schedule though, they kind of done something good to the schedule. I don't know if you've seen this. Tampa Bay will play 47 of their first 59 games at home. So April and May, they're almost home most of that time in early June. But then they go on the road, and after that, they play 69 of their last 103 games on the road. So maybe that had something to do with that too. When I seen that, I was like, well, that's kind of odd, but I knew they had to probably work around other schedules and stuff like that to play in that stadium. So anyway, so in the heat, they'll be on the road most of the time. But the poor Tampa Bay players, they're going to have to pack 3 suitcases and just keep, you know, wearing the same outfits and things like that because they're going to be road warriors for sure.
I I don't like the heat. I like the winter much better than the summer.
Me too.
My philosophy has always been I can always put more clothes on if I get cold. I can only take so many clothes off if I'm hot.
That's right.
About 10 years ago, we went to Florida. Tabitha was living in Florida, and me and Kathy and the kids went down there for a week. We went to Clearwater one day, and I just remember sitting on the white sands thinking, I am so hot and sweaty. I hate being hot and sweaty. It was terrible. So I'm not a beach person anyway. So after that, we went to eat at this seafood restaurant, and I'm thinking, it was kind of on the beach. I'm thinking, you go in there, there's air. No, there was no air conditioning there. It was open air, and I was like, gosh, I'm just sitting here eating fish and sweating now. So I,
No
needless
fun.
to say, I will not be going to Tampa to see a game in Steinbrenner Field.
Oh
Your
man.
general news.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up. I didn't know when I should talk about this, but I don't know if you heard Rico Cardi passed away from he played for a lot of teams. Was a Cub for a little bit. Played for the Cubs. He played for the Milwaukee Braves. He played from 1963 to 1979, and some of the teams he played with was Milwaukee Braves, the Atlanta Braves, Texas, and the Cubs, Cleveland, Toronto, and Oakland. He was a left fielder, first baseman, DH, and I always remember his baseball cards. I didn't see him play a whole heck of a lot, but what I really remember about him in 1970. This is a little bit before I started really keeping track of baseball, but I always go back and read the years. He won the National League batting championship with a 366 batting average. Uh, just and that was the in 1970 he won a batting title, and he also was an all-star. And I had some of his statistics down. I'm trying to look through here, but anyway, he ended with a 299 batting average. That's pretty good for 14 years, 299. So anyway, just wanted to remember him, and if you get a chance, check him out. I always remember those early Atlanta Braves cards, and he was on there. So anyway, another another great player has left us. And I tell you what, man, I growing up, a lot of those I to me it seems like 1970s and 80s wasn't that long ago, but that was a long time ago, Vince. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I remember going to my friend Terry's house when I was maybe about 10 years old. So this was in the mid 70s. And they had a game on. And I didn't have a color TV at our house at that time. We just had black and white. We didn't have cable, so I didn't watch anything but a few Cardinal games on Channel 11, game of the week, whatever. I was just getting into baseball. And they had their color TV on, and they had a game on. And Rico Cardi was in the outfield and the camera was on him and he turned around and I just remember his back and shoulders were huge. He was a very well put together human being. It said Cardi on there and I thought, wow, that guy looks dope. I didn't even know what the word dope meant back then. I thought dope was something my mom said, don't you ever do dope. So,
That's a cool name too. It was just a cool name when they announced him coming up. I was like, oh yeah, here we go now. Rico
yeah,
Cardi.
yeah. Well, rest in peace, Mr. Cardi. Anything going on with the Cardinals?
Well, just a few things. Just a lot of rumors. The main thing, and this is just a part. I got two little notes. One is Brendan Crawford, who played last year, was on our bench and came in and played a little bit. Played some. I saw the Giants were in town and his family were there, and they had him play third base and give Arenado the day off. And he actually played pretty good third base. He retired. And he played all but 1 year with the San Francisco Giants, was on those World Championship teams. A great Giant. I think to be honest with you, fans were a little rough on him when he was in the game because he'd come up with a big situation and ground out or something, and they would be yelling about retirement. That just bothered me. He was out there doing his best. I thought he stuck around maybe a year or two longer, but I would too. If I played ball, was making that kind of money, and loved to play, they'd have to tear the uniform off me. So anyway, he retired, and I wish him the best. I don't know what his future plans are, but he went ahead and retired, and it was nice having him on the team. The Cardinals have had a lot of guys late in their career come over and spend their last couple of years with the Cardinals, and I'm glad he was one of them. And the other thing is, there's a lot of announcements for special days at the ballpark. They're already talking about promotions. Now, they haven't got to the bobbleheads and some of the giveaways, but they have like a margarita night. Jimmy Buffett band plays up there and stuff, and they've got. I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but they're having a Harry Potter night where they're giving away jerseys, and evidently there's like schools or something in Harry Potter, and you can get a mystery school. Like, are you in this school or that school night or something? I don't even understand it, but anyway, they're having a lot of special nights, and they've already put those promotional dates out. So if you're a fan and you want to go to like Grateful Dead night or whatever, check it out. Military night, first responder night, things like that. So check it out. But those game dates have already been posted. So if you're interested, check it out. I'm sure they have discounts for people who are involved in whatever groups they're celebrating. So that's basically it, Vince, for the Cardinals.
Well, the Cubs have been a little more active. We did sign Matt Boyd for 2 years, 29 million. That's kind of a controversial signing.
Really, I think he's really good.
Well, it's controversial because of what we're not. Fans have been very critical when Jed came out and said, "Oh, we're not even going to talk to Juan Soto." It's like not even worth a phone call. You're the Chicago Cubs,
Well, that's
one
true.
of the highest revenue teams in baseball. So I like the signing. He's had a lot of injury problems with the Tigers, and he resurfaced the season with the Guardians, and he made 8 regular season starts with the Guardians, helped them win the American League Central. He was 2-2 with a 2.72 ERA, and in the postseason with the Guardians, he allowed just one earned run for in 11.2 innings. That would give us three left-handers in the rotation as it stands now. So we're not even sure if they're looking at him to be a starter. We do need some lefties in the bullpen. I can't see him saying, I want to come over and be a bullpen guy. I think he's going in there to compete for a starting spot. But I don't mind the signing. If he can stay healthy, I think he's a good signing for us.
I like him too. I'm excited to see him pitch where I'll get to see him more often.
The Cubs have non-tendered a few players. They non-tendered Brennan Davis, who at one time was our top prospect, who has just been dealing with injuries the last 3 years, and he's kind of stuck at AAA. He seems to be getting steps in the right direction, gets injured. Um, it's a sad story, but I mean, you see this, and that's why you can't count on prospects. You never know what's
Right.
going to happen.
That's
Brennan
right.
Davis, who's the son of uh, NBA Hall of Famer Reggie Theus.
Oh, I
Although
didn't know that.
yeah,
How about that?
he's just kind of a biological donor. He really had
Oh, I
wasted
see.
his life. Um, so yeah, you look at him; he's a physical specimen. Um, but just because of injury, hasn't been able to make his move. So I'm hoping to change of scenery does him well. Nick Madrigal's been non-tendered. We've seen enough of him. Goodbye, Nick. I already talked about Edward Alzolay. He's the one player I can see us maybe bringing back on a minor league contract. Trey Weingartner has also been non-tendered. Patrick Wisdom non-tendered. Patrick Wisdom has any team looking for 25 to 30 home runs without a whole lot of average, a DH like that. He's going to find a spot somewhere. Um, he's ran his course with us. Nice guy, great guy. He was our finalist for the Roberto Clemente Award this year.
Oh, cool.
Um, um, he and his wife are really active on social media. They're just likable people, so I hope he lands somewhere. But great teammate, but he just wasn't getting the job done. It was time for us to move on. We non-tendered Mike Talkman, which surprised the fan base. He's been a great fourth outfielder for us, and I understand why we did it. We got to make some room. The same reason I'll get into this in just a second. Same reason Cody Bellinger's on the block. We want to see the Owen Caseys, the Alcantara's. We want to see these talented players we have get up and make the major league team and see what they could do. Um, Talkman is a great fourth outfielder. He's not going to hurt you with the glove. Sometimes he's actually going to steal a home run for with the glove. Not a great fielder, but he's a good, solid fielder. What I love about Talkman is he gives you professional at bats. He goes deep into the counts. He knows the strike zone. He understands situational hitting. He can pop a home run every now and then. He's just a professional hitter, and he's a really, really good fourth outfielder. So I know he's going to latch on somewhere. I just wish he was going to be our fourth outfielder. A couple other things. Yes, it's true. Cody Bellinger is on the block, being he uh, opted back in. Um, the winter meetings are going to start next week, and I think Cody Bellinger's name is going to be shopped around a lot. And I could see us. We owe him 27 million this year. I could see us saying we'll take 20 million of that off of you, or if we get a player of similar contracts, maybe. But we're going to have to make it really sweet to get rid of him. Maybe package one of our prospects. But it's time for Bellinger to move on. He's not the player he was, and to be paid almost 30 million to hit 266 and not even hit 20 home runs. He's still a really good major league player. You put him on the right team, the right ballpark. The Yankees, for example, with that right field porch, they can hit 30 home runs, 35 home runs maybe for them. He's just not the player for us. So moving on, we're going to try to move on from Bellinger. Matt Shaw, all the fans are screaming, we need Matt Shaw to come up. We need Matt Shaw to come up. I try to remind people they're called prospects for a reason because they haven't done anything yet. I hope Matt Shaw comes up and he's the next whomever. He's the next Anthony Rizzo. But you never know. He's hit everywhere he's been. He tore up the Arizona Fall League. He tore up the international tournament. He's seems to be ready, but I'm 58 years old. I've seen a lot of prospects who had
I know we have.
come up and just flop. Um, and one thing that has kind of went under the radar that I'm really excited about, Ben Brown, who was pitching really well for us last year. And then he had like a neck compression issue. It was a really strange, his neck was sore. And, wasn't the muscles, it was kind of a compression. And he's been cleared to begin baseball duty's good, so he's on his winter throwing program. Ben Brown throws, he's the guy that reminds me so much of Adam Wainwright. High 90s fastball. He can throw that high fastball by you. And then he's got that hook, um, that Uncle Charlie that can
Oh,
just drop in the strike zone and breaks about 2.5 feet. And he also, which Wainwright could do but didn't do much, he can drop down a little bit and get more of a sweeping action with his curveball that Wainwright seldom did. So Brown's kind of got two different curveballs plus the fastball. So I'm really high on him. He would be a great addition to the bullpen, or he may sneak into the starting staff. We'll see. So that's all I have for Cub news. That's all I need for Cub news. Right now, I just need to hear from Jeremy Connor. Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. You need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. Uh, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, mainly because we've already went an hour and 15 minutes and we still have to open up baseball cards. But JJ and I, we want to talk about kind of take a big picture view of where we see our organizations. Um, we get myopic, and it looks like, well, the Cardinals aren't trying to compete this year. They're getting rid of all their, they got rid of Goldschmidt. Arenado's being talked about, Helsley's even being talked about. And
yes.
so you look at it myopically, you think, gosh, Cardinals are going to suck this year, and they're trying to suck, and it makes me mad. Hearing the same thing with the Cubs. Oh, gosh, we got the same team that's won 83 games the last 2 years. That's not good enough. The Brewers win 90 games. We got twice the payroll as them. What's wrong with that? So we thought we'd just take like the big picture view and see where we see our teams in the big picture. Do we agree with the plan, the long range plans they have, or are there things that concern us? So, JJ, why don't you go first so I can recoup my voice a bit?
of course, yeah. Relax, put your feet up. I won't take too long with this, Vince. But basically, I'm really on board with what they're doing right now. We're kind of cleaning house. We've had a log jam in the outfield, and it's time to look at these guys. And like Vince says, they're prospects. And I'm just going to go around the diamond. The catcher is one of the strengths of the Cardinals. Ever since I was a kid, we've always brought up a lot of catchers, and I think pretty good major league catchers. Yachty got us kind of spoiled because he was so darn. He played like 18 years, and 14 of them were like top notch, and the other ones were good. But anyway, we got Podges and Ivan Herrera in the big leagues, and Contreras is also. I never put him like our third catcher, but the talk is he's going to play a lot of first base and DH, and these two young kids are going to do the catching. I'm okay with that. I like to have Contreras as bad in the lineup. We have him 2 more years, and I love Contreras, and he was having a great year last year. Plus, I got this stat here: the Cardinals' top 27 prospects, 5 of them are catchers, and there's a kid down in Double A named Jimmy Crooks. I got his autograph, by the way. He's only 23 years old, and in Double A last year, he hit 321. Now that's the minor leagues. That ain't pro ball, but top when they grade in catching ability and arm, he grades very high in both of those. So if nothing else, he'll be a very good defensive player. And shoot, if he could hit 250 in the big leagues, I'd be ecstatic. And he has some pop too. He had 11 home runs last year. So our catching is fine, and the future looks bright. It looks like we're going to have some good catchers coming our way. Matter of fact, we could probably trade some of these guys for prospects later on. First base is the thing that intrigues me because all great teams, when you have your batting lineup, it seems like everybody's got a bopper over, and all good teams have a really good first baseman. Well, we're going to have Contreras there, but there's also some unknown. That's an unknown factor because I think Contreras is going to DH and catch some too. But we got Burleson and Walker and Luca Baker, and those are the 4 guys that possibly could play first base this year. And to be honest with you, Burleson, and it seems like, we'll just stick somebody at first base, but Vince, not everybody's good defensively at first base. Cardinals have had a lot of good first basemen, but to be honest, probably half of the good first basemen we have come from other organizations that we traded for and brought over. So anyway, right now it's unknown. I'm just going to put that as an unknown, and we don't have a lot of our big prospects coming up that are first basemen. So maybe Burleson will be the answer. Maybe Jordan Walker can be in the lineup, and in the outfield he's a little suspect. But he's actually a third baseman through his whole career up to getting to like AAA ball. So I think he's come a long way. But first base is where I'm really kind of worried about. At second base, we're in good shape right now. We got four possible second baseman Donovan, but I'll be honest, when they do the depth chart for the Cardinals, Donovan's in the outfield, and it looks like it's going to be Gorman, Sagis, or that Freeman kid that came back and forth. He kept coming back and forth last year and playing a little bit for us. One of those guys, and I think Sagis is this kid. I've heard some people say, "Oh, they're big on him," but I don't see anything. I'm telling you, now the Rangers were big on him, but that's who we got from Montgomery. And everything, the Arizona Fall League, he's done really good. He's going to be on the roster. Look, he's on the 40-man roster. He's going to be at spring training. We'll get a good look at him then. And supposedly he's like a Zobrist. They say he's like Donovan and Edmund, but with power. And man, if he takes good at bats like that and has a little pop, I'm very excited, especially for a second baseman. Now, we haven't forgot Gorman because he can play third base. And with Arenado gone, that looks pretty good. Now, shortstop, it's win or bust. Freeman can be the backup there, and maybe, Donovan can play backup there, but Wynn is going to be our shortstop, and I'm happy with that. But I kind of wish we had somebody a little bit better being a backup. Third base, with Arenado gone, it could be Gorman, Walker, or Donovan. So second base or first base and third base, right there. And usually good teams have solid guys there. And I was looking through our minor leagues, our top 15 prospects, and none of them are third baseman or first baseman. So maybe Gorman's the answer because I think he should be in the lineup and have somewhere to play. And if he is a third baseman, let's put him there. Get him in the lineup somewhere. He's a good at bat. He's got to not strike out so much and get his average up a little bit. The outfield, the Cardinals always have been blessed with great outfield prospects. I'm going all the way back to Jerry Mumphrey, Tony Scott, McGee, Green, all those guys. We've always had pretty good outfielders, and we've got some really good ones. And some of our top prospects that are coming through our system are outfielders as well. So I'm okay. And it looks like Victor Scott, the second, is going to get a shot this year. He wasn't ready last year, but that happens. I know when he first came up in September that one year, he looked terrible. And we brought somebody up last year too, and they just looked overmatched. But, a little bit of time in the big leagues and get your feet underneath you. And maybe this is the year he catches on because to have him in center field, he plays a very good defense and he's lightning quick out there. So I'm excited about that. But Vince, here's where we have so many prospects that are coming up to pitch. Now, right now, this looks like our pitching staff at the moment. It looks like Sonny Gray, Fetty, Michaelis, Palante, and Matz. And I've heard a lot of rumors that we're trying to move Matz and Michaelis. I don't think we could get much from Michaelis, and Matz would probably have to pay some of that contract. He just always hurt. And every time he looks like he's about to get his going, he has an injury. But it looks like on the 40-man roster, McCreevy, who looked real good. He only had one start and one relief appearance, but he looks like he's somebody I'm excited to see. With Tink Hintz was in Double-A last year, but he's on the 40-man roster. We'll see what happens there. We have Robeson too, a kid we made some trades a couple of years ago, and he was one of the guys we got. But down in the minors, we've got a lot of pitchers coming, and we're so excited about Quinn Matthews and this kid we took in the first round, Cooper Chirpy. It's with an H, but has the J sound. And he's in Double-A. And all these kids we have, our top 15 prospects, are all like 22, 23 years old. And there's things I like about all of them. Pitching seems to take a little while to develop. But Vince, I've been watching the Cardinals for a long time. And maybe there was that group where we had like Carlos Martinez and Flaherty, and everybody threw like 98 miles an hour. This looks like the next group of those type of players. Now, we didn't win any championships with Martinez. and Flaherty, but there was moments where they looked so good. So we've got a lot of prospects. I'm excited to see the young kids pitching. And of course, in the bullpen, we still have at the moment. And if we can get something good for him, I think they may try to move him because let's be honest, he's had one incredible year and parts of good years, two or three, but he gets injured a lot. So see what happens there. Livator will be in the bullpen. And I tell you what, I like him in the bullpen. He's very good out of the bullpen. Jojo Romero, Ryan Fernandez, and some of these other guys have the moments where they look pretty good. But Vince, it seems like every team needs a bullpen, and you can go out there. There's so many players out there and pick and try to get a few players in there. And so it seems like every year we go to spring training with two or three guys I don't really know, and they end up getting a job in our bullpen. So we'll see what happens there. So for me, Vince, the things that kind of worry me a little bit is first base, third base, of course, starting pitching. Everybody needs pitch. You can't have enough pitching and bullpen, but Cardinals seem to always piece together a decent bullpen. So, in my estimation, that's where we're at. And you know what, Vince? It's okay because in our division, it seems like there's no team that's. It seems like everybody's got a few holes in there. They're all got some prospects they're looking at, and you could tell me right now the Pirates would win the division. It wouldn't surprise me. Cubs or the Brewers. Every team is capable of winning our division, and I just think it's going to be a fun year and seeing a lot of good young players. So that's where I'm at. I like the direction we're going. What the heck? We weren't getting it done the other way. So let's try this and see what we got, you know?
Now, let me ask you a few
That's my
things.
sure.
The Cardinals have never played much in the free agent pool.
Very seldom.
Their way of enhancing the team has been trading for malcontents from other teams, from McGuire,
Sometimes, yeah.
your
Yeah.
Arenados, or players who are on the block
Rolling.
because they're being pushed, like Christian Walker was pushing for playing time, and so that made Goldschmidt expendable. So that's how they've done a lot of their enhancement is through trades. Um, with that being said, one of the philosophies that was very prevalent what from the Cardinal point of view is once we get him here, being this is baseball heaven, they'll extend for a discount. And those days are over. That hasn't happened for years now, at least
Wow.
a decade and a
I'm
half.
thinking of that.
Do you think the Cardinals need to be a little more active in free agency? Um, because you do have a very young team coming up. Um, but once you get past like Contreras, at least the everyday players, there's not a whole lot of leadership there. Once you get to the pitching staff, there are some veterans on there, but a couple of those veterans are not. I, Michaelis looks done to me. He was your Greg Matt or not Greg Maddox, Kyle Hendricks. You know,
Yeah. There you
arch
go.
but you wouldn't get much out of him. And like you said, Matt's is injured. Um, would you like to see them dip a little more into free agency? They will do a splash every now and then, like when they got Contreras, but they're very passive in free agency.
Yeah, it seems like we go for not the big guys, but somebody to just fit. Now, if somebody's perfect, of course, but right now I can see it. There's talk of Quintana coming back, and he's the type of guy they would go get. Maybe a bench guy. We usually get really Andrew Miller might have been a free agent when we got him, but he was at the end of his career. I loved him when he was with the Indians or Guardians. He was phenomenal, but he wasn't the same guy when we got him. Um, yeah, you're right. Sonny Gray came here and he took less to be here. I mean, he didn't stay because he fell in love, but as a kid, and he's from this area, so he came. But yeah, I'd love to see him maybe if it was the right player. Of course, everybody wants Soto or somebody like that. Who wouldn't want him? But if it was just the right guy, Arenado was the perfect guy to get because my friend said, "Well, who would you go get if you could get anybody?" And I said, "Out there right now, Arenado." And we got him, and except for last year, I think he's done pretty good. He may end up being on the team if we don't get what we want, because, like you said with Bellinger, I think we're going to have to eat a lot of that contract and everything. And so you'd have Contreras and Arenado out there. But yeah, we'll have to get some bench pieces and stuff. But I would love to, but it had to be the perfect guy. And I'm looking around and I don't know who that would be, because you'd almost have to bump somebody else if you went out there. And I want to see these young guys play. So, um, maybe a big reliever. I always think of, you remember when the Yankees had Mariano Rivera was coming up and he was the eighth inning guy, and they had John Wetland. And they had those two guys, and when they got to the eighth inning, they just shut you down. I'd love to see us go get another, like that kid you mentioned, Finnegan. Wouldn't he be a great eighth inning guy to Helsley's ninth? How the Royals kind of did it.
Yeah.
When they had those three guys, and you just only had to get to six innings, and then you put those kind of guys in there. Maybe they could go get a couple big time relievers and just, have the starters try to get 5 innings, a middle guy, and then hit your big guys at the end and win the game. So maybe
Yeah.
that's
The
what I would
top
do.
complaint that I've heard from Cardinal fans for 30 years is we don't go after the big free agents.
We don't, yeah.
And I don't know. That's an ownership thing. I don't think the
Yeah.
Cardinals are cash strapped by any stretch of the imagination. The Cardinals are kind of an illusion. St. Louis is a small market, but the Cardinals have a fan base that's huge because of KMOX. So you have third, fourth generation Cardinal fans living in Colorado, living in northern
Memphis.
Texas. Yeah, they have closer teams by them, but they're still Cardinal fans because at one time the Cardinals were the furthest west team and they were the furthest south team. So they've got this huge fan base. Um, but no one's gonna ever know uh, what the books look like for each Major League Baseball team because the what's the word? I can't remember the ex
Illusion.
the exemption to Major
But
League
yeah,
Baseball.
Vince, I don't see us doing that. I really don't. I mean, I would. Who wouldn't love to have some of these big stars and everything? But if we were about to win, I could see us making. If we had a bunch of prospects, our minor leagues for like the Dodgers, and we were right on the verge, I could see us making a deal for like a Mike Trout, but it'd be a big trade, 5-for-1 or something like that. How we do it, that's how the Cardinals usually do it. We get somebody like that with a few years left in the tank or something like that. But yeah, I just don't see us going out and buying Paul Skeens when he goes on the free agent market or anybody like that.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've been doing this for an hour and a half. So I'm going to table the Cub outlook until
Okay,
next, and that way I can bounce it off Max and we can just kind of play with it. Um,
sure.
um, I still can't believe how much time nothing happened in baseball. We still now
Vince, we love the game. This is us. We can sit here and just talk baseball. And I had two other stories I could have went into, but I thought, nah, it didn't really fit. I'll save it for next time too.
yeah, I didn't get to everything in my first page of notes because
Come
I have
on.
is the time right? But we will open up
No, it's
baseball
801.
cards.
All
I
right.
have 1991 score.
Ooh. How many Hall of Famers you think?
Two.
Oh, I was
Two.
going to say, I'm saying two as well. I'm saying two. Vince, all right, you open yours first, but look what I have. Vince, I have the 2024 Baseball Tops Chrome, the one that possibly could have Paul Skeens in it. Yes, this could happen. I have one pack I have not opened. Vince, these things, one pack is $16, and there's only 4 cards in there. But for this show, I mortgaged my home to buy one of these packs.
If you have Paul Skeens, this show's going viral.
Yes, it is. We'll be coast to coast.
Oh, well, look at this. Hall of Famer Scott Fletcher. Oh, wait a minute. Hall of Famer? Oh,
No,
I
that's
meant
the guy the Cardinals will get as a free agent. We would go to Scott Fletcher.
former Cub Scott Fletcher. Uh,
Everybody was a former Cub. My God, I'm surprised how many people play for the Cubs.
and he had 2 cents with the White Sox too, and also played
I
with the
remember
Rangers.
that. I do remember
Scotty
him a White
Fletcher.
Sox.
Ah, Blue Jays pitcher and former Cardinal Todd Stottlemyre,
Oh, I loved Stoudemire.
son of Mel Stottlemyre, brother of Mel Stottlemyre Jr.
Yeah, he
He
came
had,
over with Tony. He was with the A's, and when Tony came over, they ended up getting Stoudemire too.
if you can find his rant, he did a rant after a game. I don't know if it was with Oakland or with St.
Oh,
Louis. It is hilarious.
I have
He
to
gets
listen.
angry and his voice goes up and the profanity starts flowing. It's great.
Man, when the voice goes up, you get ready.
Uh, Hall of Famer, former Brewer, former Blue Jay, Paul Malador.
I seen him get 5 hits in Game One of the '82 World Series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Paul Mahal's
Uh,
a great player.
Former Cy Young Award winner and former cheater, Mike Scott.
Mike
Mike Scott.
Scott got the Cy Young. I still think Fernando should have won it that year.
Uh, yeah, Fernando probably didn't doctor the ball nearly as much as Mr. Scott did.
The
So
scuffer.
yeah. Do not remember this guy, rookie prospect Jim Thatcher with
Never heard of him.
Atlanta. Don't remember this guy, rookie prospect Pete Coachman
Don't remember him either.
with the A's or Angels, excuse me. Former Brewer prospect, rookie prospect. Don't remember this guy, Tim McIntosh.
No, no,
No,
Mr. McIntosh.
I do remember this guy, former Blue Jays rookie prospect, left fielder Luis Soho. Had a decent major league
Oh
career.
yeah. Played I bet a 10-year career.
What do you get when you're Stan Musial and your best friend on the team is Julian Javier and Julian's wife has a baby? What do you get? Stan Javier, named after
Dan
Stan Musial.
Javier, yeah. And he's with
Uh,
the Dodgers there. He was an Oakland A too.
yep, yep. Former Royals third baseman, the pride of Peoria, Illinois, Kevin Seitzer.
A lot of players came out of Peoria.
Yeah. Oh,
Dan Fogelberg.
he had 323 as a or three, yeah, 323 as a rookie, 207 hits, and never came close to those numbers the rest of his
He had
career.
something.
This
And
is one of the
that's baseball for you.
yeah, one of the poster boys for highly touted prospects who just fizzle out. Sean Abner with the Padres.
Oh yeah, number one taken in the draft. I think he was highly
Great minor
regarded.
league career and just couldn't put it together on the major league level. Oriole outfielder Brad Kamensk. I remember him.
I do too. Baltimore. Yeah.
Oh, and I got a hologram, 1979 World Series trivia, which I cannot read because
Oh, that'd
my
be Pittsburgh Pirates and Baltimore Orioles.
uh, former Expo third baseman, former Dodger third baseman, former All Star Tim Wallach.
Oh, a good player.
And I have my second most valuable player or Hall of Famer, former Expo, former Met, former Giant, Gary Carter, passed away recently, the last few years.
Oh yeah,
Oh my
great
gosh,
kid.
this is the third straight time I've had three Hall of Famers. One of my favorite all-time players, the only man to win batting titles in three different decades from the Kansas City Royals, George Brett.
Good George Brett.
Oh, this is one of our favorites. You're mine,
Okay.
one of our favorites. Seattle Mariners right fielder Bone Buhner.
Oh yeah. They did Jay Buhner. I one year I was out in Seattle in the Navy and they were giving everybody Jay Buhner haircuts. If you wanted to sit in the barber chair, they just shaved your head out there.
Oh, shaved head, and when he had the mustache and the goatee, and he just stand up there with a bat kind of
Oh yeah.
4 inches above his waist, just wiggle it a little, just looking menacing, and then he just explode into the balls. Uh, he was fun.
he was a player the Yankees gave up on or traded him or whatever. For whatever reason, he ended up over in Seattle and had a nice career. Yeah.
Oh,
All right,
let's
Vince.
see. Let's
Ooh. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. There's only four cards in here,
make us
but
go
they're very
viral. Make
yeah,
us go
let's get
viral.
all right. I'm gonna try. All right, our first one is a chrome of Rodney Munoz. Not quite Paul Skeens, but it's the one and only Rodney Munoz from the Marlins right there.
Okay,
Look like
okay, okay.
he's throwing a football or something. All right, hang on. Our next one. I'm doing this very carefully. Oh, can you believe? I cannot. Vince, this is bad. This is a bad omen. Okay, this was uh Munoz, but we've got the refractor of Munoz. Now, come on. What the heck? In the same pack, ladies and gentlemen.
I would get a lawyer. That's what I would do.
Yeah, something's going on. All right, Angel Kevin. I can't. Is it Pilar? Whoop. Let me find
Yeah,
that. Where do you go?
Pilar.
Pilar of the Angels, right there. Oh, anyway, these Chrome cards are nice. And the last one, that's not Paul Skeens. It's Marco Lucinio, a shortstop from the Giants. Right there. Look at that.
JJ,
Well, so
you have one job.
I had one job.
That job is to make the show go viral.
I
And
know.
Marcus Licinio is not going to do it.
That's it. This is coming off. Oh, well, it was a nice try. It had a little suspense to the end of the show.
Well, good luck with your surgery next week.
Thank you, sir.
We
I'll see
will
you Saturday.
carry on, and we hope to see some of you Saturday. Uh,
Man.
come and match your face to your name, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, uh, just come out and have fun with us.
That'd be a good time.
It's very tough to find good comedy in this area, and I know a couple of these comics are really good, so you will have a good time. So, but JJ, I'm glad you had a good Thanksgiving.
Me
I'm
too. I'm
glad
glad you had.
December got here, and we are still trudging along. And I hope that you have a surgery that all you do is go to sleep and wake back up, and you're like, man, get me a payday. I feel great. My mouth feels great. So, you know,
I'll have that Lal Wagner smile where it goes, "Bling," when you
yeah.
smile.
All right. All right. Well, JJ, you have a good one. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and we'll see everybody else next week.